Hi guys, Ian Johnson from driversuccess.com. Today I want to talk about why your company's customer service strategy has to start with your marketing and sales department. And this may be, pretty redundant for a lot of companies. It's pretty obvious that you've got to manage customer relationships from the outset. But a lot of times I see companies, especially some of my customers, and the biggest mistake that they make is that they basically define goals and objectives, key performance indicators, metrics, benchmarks, what have you, that are different for each department, okay? And there's reasons for that. However, what ends up happening is it ends up pushing a customer along from marketing, sales, all the way to customer service until that point in time. By the time customer service gets them, there's just nothing that they can do to keep that customer satisfied. So I want to go over basically responsibilities typically associated with marketing, sales, and customer service. And I'm going to explain some of the things that can happen when the message you send to your market is contradictory or not entirely accurate or a complete falsehood, and the damaging effects that it can have on your company. Okay, so very quickly, when you talk about marketing obviously is measured on its ability to increase market share. Product launches, they got to get customers interested in the product offering. They've got to get a message to market that basically incites customers to move forward. That message to market basically encompasses the company's value proposition. And I did a video a while back about the importance of using a value chain analysis to define your company's value and making sure that that's a portion of your marketing strategy. But ultimately, marketing is measured on its ability to produce qualified leads, and it has to produce qualified leads. It's got to find customers that are really interested in the product, and they've got to hand that off to sales in order for sales to make the sale itself, okay? So sales is measured on sales. They're measured on gross profit. A lot of times companies expect them to maintain a certain gross profit margin on sales. Ultimately, they're responsible for customer retention. And their goal, when I put here incumbent status, their goal is to become the incumbent supplier. Okay? It's not just the sale in front of them. They want to position themselves to close that sale, but get the customer to come back for more. And we've all heard about how a repeat customer or an existing customer is 4 times less expensive than finding a new customer. So we all know that the importance of retaining existing customers. Customer service. Well, obviously they're measured on customer satisfaction, customer retention, but really, honestly, a lot of times they're measured on cost control. And if you operate in a business-to-business market, a perfect example of something like this would be, you may have a situation where your customers have to pay for freight on all of their shipments. But if you've done something wrong, and if you've had a stock out, or you didn't have the product available, or a quality issue, or if you've not properly serviced the customer, ultimately, sometimes you have to absorb the cost of freight. You say to the customer, don't worry, we'll cover the freight this time. Well, that's a direct impact on your cost to service a customer. So customer service, yes, they're responsible for keeping customers happy, but there's this constant issue with cost control. Keep the customers happy within reason, okay? So what happens when marketing goes out to produce qualified leads and they're basically pushed by the company's management to generate as many qualified leads as possible? Well, they'll do that. They'll go out and they'll get as many qualified leads as possible, but perhaps their marketing message is, as I mentioned earlier, based on falsehoods or misleading statements, and it's not immediately obvious what the damaging effects on that is, but eventually it's going to cost your company money. So management a lot of times says, we really want people to be excited about this product. Tell them it does this, tell them it does that. We haven't quite got there yet, but if we get customers interested, by the time they come around, we'll be ready. And of course, if that doesn't happen, it's a huge cost to the company. So the marketing goes out and they produce qualified leads, not entirely truthful with their statements. Customer gets excited, and those qualified leads goes over to sales. Okay, these leads go over to sales. Now, you think about it from a sales perspective, they get this opportunity to make a sale, they're measured on sales. The company has told them that they're qualified, the lead is qualified. Who are they to question it? And in most cases, they don't question it. In most cases, they just say, you know what, my job is to sell. The company says it's a qualified lead, I gotta take them at their word. Some of the things that the customer is asking for, we really kind of probably don't do, and maybe our product doesn't actually do that. But, sales are important, I'm measured on sales, so I'm gonna close it. And in a lot of cases, sales just is like, forget it, customer service will take care of it after. So sales close the sale, and the customer goes over to customer service, and this is where everything falls apart, and this is where your customer retention is impacted. Because by the time it gets to customer service, your customer has been sold on a message that perhaps is not truthful. They've not been told by sales any differently. But now customer service is forced to manage this customer whose expectations can't possibly be attained because of the falsehoods from marketing and because sales' inability to basically say that's not what we can do. Okay, and this happens a lot. And by the time it gets here, you've got a customer who's upset, not terribly impressed, and in the worst case, they feel lied to. So you're not going to retain them, and your costs to service are going to go up. So how do you stop this type of thing from happening? Well, you know, perhaps it goes without saying that you shouldn't really focus on falsehoods in marketing. You should focus on the true aspect of what your product or service can offer. But barring that, just keeping that in mind, one way to stop this from happening is to create a stopgap measure at sales and empower your salespeople to say, I know you think it's a qualified lead, but the reality is it really isn't. So the first step is, number one, stopgap measure. Okay? Empower sales to say this isn't going any further because it's not a qualified lead. Okay? Measure everybody on gross profit. On customer retention. The whole team should be measured on customer retention, because the reality is that managing a customer's expectations is the single most important aspect of sales, and growing market share and retaining customers. So if you measure everybody on customer retention, it means that the message sent from marketing makes sense. It means that sales is properly selling the customer and is supporting marketing in terms of its message, and it means that customer service is properly, keeping the customer satisfied, what have you. So have a stopgap measure, and I'll put a little star here at sales. Okay? And third, I mentioned it earlier, but stop the falsehoods. Okay? Stop the falsehoods. Okay? Look, I know you may believe that if you send a message to market that you've got this great product, that you're going to get a lot of interest. That's true, but your customers are going to end up feeling like you haven't been truthful with them. Okay? And if they go through from marketing to sales all the way to customer service, your company will pay for it eventually. I guarantee it. It's going to happen. And if you want to keep your customers, you got to start off on the right foot. So remember, customer service starts with marketing and sales. Come up with common objectives for each one of these departments, and empower your people to raise a red flag if they come across issues that need to be addressed. So that's it. Ian Johnson, driversuccess.com. Bye-bye.